Hi, everybody. Coming from a perhaps much improved FantasyGate headquarters, it's your Commissioner St. Sheldog telling you to turn off Thursday Night Football and perhaps turn up the volume on your device just in case the microphone I have sticking to my face now doesn't really turn the trick. It is time for your Week 2 FantasyGate recap. Sure, Chief. Why not? Let's start with this week's big blowout, a blow-up by the St. Sheldog squad, who failed to get over 90 points once again, but this week found an opponent who could score a few in Elway's way. The curse is on as another saintly wide receiver, this time Deshaun Jackson, gets the start and comes up lame. Cam Newton fails once again to score a touchdown. It's smooth sailing for way of the donkey, whose team had the highest scoring output this week and notched their first win. This week's edition of the Toilet Bowl featured last week's lowest scoring team, Feeling Dangerous, who had the good fortune to face this week's second lowest scoring team, Elementary My Dear Watson. It's a good thing the Elementarians drafted Devontae Adams and Dalvin Cook with their top picks because they did better than half their scoring this week. Both teams in this shit show went all in on Houston-Jacksonville, with 4 players from that game averaging only 8 points apiece. And just as in that horrible football game, someone had to win this fantasy matchup. First win to Feeling Dangerous, while Dear Watson starts 0-2. The biggest combined quarterback and game total was in the match between Bruce Don't Call Me Leroy and the efficacious shitty piece of poop. Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes combined for 80 of the game's 220 points, but the deciding factor was the ever-present existence of the poopy underperformers. Christian McCaffrey and TJ Hawkmason scored a combined 6 points, roughly 11% of their week 1 total. Kung Fu's mastered a more consistent lineup and is rewarded with its first fantasy win, while the bright side looking shitty start 0-2. This week, the shittiest of the shitty were running high, totaling a league-low 70.2 points. Good thing that Drew Brees threw for 38 rather than 34 yards, because no one wants to join Feeling Dangerous among teams scoring under 70. Nearly everyone who started Brees this week lost. No large feat then for Yuke and Luck Goff to get their second win, but hey, why take anything away from them? It's not as if they are the New Orleans Saints, is it? The Rams-Saints game factored large in this match. A third of all starters would have been unwatchable for running high after Brees left the game, and you know who else found it unwatchable? The refs! The match between OBJYN and Yuan Khalid Kamara came down to Monday night, though if they watched for fantasy's sake, they didn't have to watch long. OBJ found the end zone on a long play in the first half, sealing the victory for OBJYN. Another big week for Lamar Jackson, and while the Candides did much better this week, lackluster performance from Kamara and a donut at tight end kept them out of the win column. And finally, the Fantasy Knights in first and goal. The Dolphins offense came up huge for the Knights, handing the Patriots defense 41 points early on Sunday. High point for that team, unfortunately, the only high point. Their 7 position players scored just 7 points apiece. By the time the Giants had stopped giving the ball to Saquon, he had already done enough to help first and goal get their second win of the season. Well, that wraps it up, and until next week, bite me.